Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all well. Jordan here, back with a new review for you all. Today we're going to be looking at the successor to the highly popular Blue Yeti, the Blue Yeti X. So Blue has implemented a number of improvements in this version over the original, and this video will hopefully give you everything you need to know, with of course my opinion at the very end. So the Yeti X is currently on the market for $200 or £160 at the time of recording, which is $60 or £60 more than the original Yeti. So let's give you an idea of what that extra money gets you. So the Yeti X is a 4-capsule microphone array over the 3 that we found in the original Yeti, but it still retains 4 different pickup options: stereo, bidirectional, omnidirectional and cardioid. Like the original version, the Yeti X also offers a headphone jack for live monitoring, but now includes on-the-fly adjustment for game and voice mixing, as well as their custom lighting options, including live voice peaking, especially useful to streamers that can't edit their voice after they've just spoken. So let's not waste any time, let's get on to the meat of the video and get inside the box. So the first thing we're going to see is a small instructional card. There's some basics on there on how the microphone works and how to use it. Also at the bottom, how to position the microphone. A lot of people made the mistake with the original Yeti of talking into the top. That's not the case, it should be done into the front, as it is a front address microphone. After you remove that pamphlet and the little bit of protective packaging, you do see the microphone in its folded state. At the very top left hand side we do have a micro USB cable. It's around 2 meters in length. So onto the microphone itself, this is a blackout edition. There is actually only one colour variant available at the moment, but being that the Yeti had a massive range of different colours, I'm sure we're going to see some different colours for the Yeti X pop up in the near future. Personally for me, I do love the blackout edition purely because it's matte black and I'm a matte black freak, but of course there are some people that are going to want different colours and I'm sure we'll see those down the line. So let's have a look around the microphone before we go into the software. So of course at the top of the microphone is where we're going to be talking into it, from which side of course is up to you. Below that there's a little bit of chrome accent, and that is quite a fingerprint magnet. So below the mesh is going to be the most commonly used area of the microphone. This is where we can toggle our mute on, and then you do a simple press and hold to go through the headphone volume, and then control how much playback of your own voice you get when you're recording or live streaming. So either side of the dial we've got some nice simple controls to adjust the angle of the microphone. That follows down onto a really heavy bass, and this is chrome again like the trim on the top, so again it does attract fingerprints quite easily. The bottom is soft padded as well, so it's not going to scratch the surface that you put it on. Now if we lift the microphone up, underneath we'll see a headphone jack, which is a 3.5mm input. You can actually route your game sounds through this as well, and obviously mix it with your volume, and then obviously mix it with your voice if you want to. And then we've got a thread if you want to put it onto a shock mount, for example. Blue actually sell one, or maybe you want to mount it to the compass arm like we saw in the podcast setup. And then on the right hand side we've got the micro USB input to obviously send the data to the PC. It's a shame it's not USB-C, but it's certainly an upgrade on the mini USB that we saw on the original Yeti. So on the back of the microphone is where we're going to find our pickup selection between cardioid, omnidirectional, bidirectional and then stereo. You can actually change the colour of each LED on there as well. I'll show you that in the software in a minute. So I'm now going to run you through the Logitech software. Now please bear in mind the actual blue effect is a little bit different to what you're hearing now. It does add quite a little bit of a different filter to what you're going to hear, but just ride it out if you don't like it. I'll be back with this kind of sound in a minute. Okay guys, so onto the software. All you need to do is download the Logitech Hub. I believe this actually might bring it up once you plug the microphone in, so that's another step that you don't have to worry about. But let's go into this and give you a little bit of an idea of what you can do. So now we've got the Blue Voice enabled. This gives you some different presets. So for example, this is on Broadcaster 1. You can do Broadcaster 2. You have options to do a mic test on here as well. That did just bump up the volume a little bit, but you can obviously adjust that as well. So further down we've got some different options here. High voice, soft and FM style. And you can see this does change the EQ on the right hand side. So crisp and modern, warm and vintage. You can go in and get some more presets that you can download if you want to. So it's kind of like a user created style. Quite nice. For example, we'll go back onto the one that I chose to begin with. And then obviously you can customize that to your own preference if you want to do so as well. You do have an option to change the pattern on there as well, but I'm going to stick with the cardioid because that's what's probably going to be the most commonly used amongst us. Okay, so presets aside, this is currently set at 50, as you can see by the gain and also the master output. Now, if you want to go for a totally new preset, you can down at the bottom here. And what you can actually do is go into this advanced controls. So you obviously got your preset for your EQ. You can disable that or enable that. You can do a little test of the microphone if you want to as well. but you can press advanced controls and look at all those options that are on. If I turn them off, you'll notice that we get to the standard sound out of the box, and adding all this on will then change the sound quite drastically. Now all these are really quite hot, as you can see at the top. It's going even to the red part, it's starting to clip. So I would recommend turning that down if you do want to use these. But as another review pointed out, it is designed to be a little bit further away. So for example, if I slide this microphone back, then it isn't going to be quite so hot. For the people that are streaming and don't have it on, have their microphone in the view of the camera or in shot, it's going to be a little bit more beneficial. But for the majority of things, for voiceovers, you want to bring it a little bit closer to you and turn this gain down like this, so you don't have that clipping. It's not quite as drastic. That sounds a lot better. So I'm just going to go back to 50 and come a little bit further away from the microphone so it's not quite so hot. But as you can see, this is all quite heavy on the effect. And what you can actually do is, for example, the noise reduction, we can tick this on, go on the 3 dots, and then it'll give you a release, sensitivity, bias, and then a maximum attenuation. I don't know how to say that word. How do you say that word? Going on to the expander in the gate, so tick that on. Again, you can do the same thing. So you've got attack, release, range, threshold, hysteresis, ratio, all things that I don't really dabble in. So something that the people that want to use that. So there goes a little brief summary. So this can be useful to remove unwanted background noise like dogs barking, children playing, televisions. So maybe it's quite handy for removing background sounds that you may have if you're currently at home. Say no more. So de-esser, again, going into this, you've got attack, release, ratio, threshold, frequencies, and then the compressor, you have the similar kind of thing. So attack, release, threshold, ratios. Limiter, boost, release, attack, and output. So all things you can play around with. For example, there are other products that have these. This is reminds me of another product that is meant for podcasting that has all these effects like on the fly, and you can adjust them. So this is quite nice to see for those people that do want to dabble in a bit more advanced sound. But for the majority of people, they probably won't have a preset, and they'll just tick this box here, back to the default sound, but they'll just go down and maybe use one of the presets there. But I did want to show you that for those people that want to get a little bit more advanced than the standard user. So moving on to the lighting, as I did show you, that it does have a little bit of a change depending on what you do. So for example, you can change the live colors. So obviously green and red are the most commonly used, but you can do this to what you want. For example, you could go white. It does show a little bit purple on the actual LED, but as I said in my keyboard reviews, RGB uses multiple colors to try and create white, so it's never as true to an actual white LED. So I'm going to bring this back to green for now, and then that will update in real time on the microphone. You then just tap the mute button to change that. Obviously I didn't do it as I mute the microphone because you wouldn't be able to hear me, but you can then change that on there as well. The modes, so when you do press and hold, it takes you obviously into different modes. So you can do the microphone volume, the headphone volume. You can also change all these as well. So direct monitoring, I might go for a red, maybe like a turquoise, cyan, something of that nature. And then we've got some following effects down here. So you can either do it as a fixed light, which is probably going to be the most easy to see, or you then can do it into a breathing effect if you want to. Obviously, unless you're going to be using this on the general setting, so for example you're live and you mute, that's going to be probably more appropriate to use a breathing effect there, because it's not going to matter too much. Obviously, whereas you're going to have to go into the menus to actually see the effect if you have it on here. So I think it's going to be more benefit to the live and mute section to have the breathing effect over just the menus that are a little bit more complex to access. So metering is obviously that you've also seen in the videos when it goes round and starts to clip at the high end. You can change the colors for this again. I would go pretty much as it is, because I think it's easy to spot red and yellow on the microphone than any other color, especially if you're not looking at it directly. You can tell by peripheral vision more that the red and yellow / orange does show up than if you were to use a lighter color. So For ease of use, I would say what it is by default is probably the best to do. But of course, if you want to go for it and change it, then you can do. So pattern, on the back, you can change the color of this if you want to as well. I don't think people are going to change that very much, obviously, because you're not going to really see it unless it's on camera. So for the majority of people, I think that'll probably stay the same unless you have a channel theme. So maybe I might go red. But for the majority of people, this microphone won't be in the shot anyway. So that'll probably stay white for the majority of people. You can do effect on there if you want to as well, and then change all the different ones. But as I did say, you're likely to stick with the white. Going further down to the 3.5mm headphone jack, you can get an output, and then you can do the mixer on there as well if you don't want to actually do it on the controls itself and the microphone. You do have some different presets as well, so the general ones you'll see, you've got an FPS option, a MOBA, communication cinematic, and then bass boost. So that was a look at the Logitech software. As you did see, the blue effect was enabled, and that gives it a really kind of podcasty EQ and filter to the sound. What you're hearing now is of course default out of the box, and I just wanted to present this video in that standard just so you can get an idea of what you could expect it to do when you just take it straight out. But for those of you that do want to have a play around with the sound, it definitely gives you the options to do so. Okay, so for this part of the video, I'm going to be testing the Blue Yeti and the Yeti X together. So what I'm actually doing is recording both channels at the same time, and then I'm going to cut in between two different parts. I'm going to do my usual introduction, and then you can get an idea of what it's going to sound like between the old one and the new one. Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. Jordan back with another review for you. Today we're going to be looking at the Blue microphones Yeti X. Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. Jordan back with another review for you. Today we're going to be looking at the Blue microphones Yeti X. Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. Jordan back with another review for you. Today we're going to be looking at the Blue microphones Yeti X. So obviously sound is a very subjective topic, but what I can tell from the difference between the original Yeti and this one is I feel the Yeti X has a little bit more clarity than the original. I think maybe a little bit more bass and fullness as well to the sound. So personally I feel, given the conclusion that the Yeti X is really quite difficult, it's certainly a nice upgrade over the original, don't get me wrong, but there's a few things that I think it's got that not everyone's going to be using, and it just kind of questions whether you need to warrant that extra money over buying the original Yeti. Now I think the sound is pretty much bang on the original, if a little bit more crisp. I think there's a slight amount of extra bass in there as well to the original Yeti. Of course you've got another capsule in there. If you're going to be using all those different variants and options or patterns, then that's great to have. And then obviously of course you've got the Blue voice that you can go and dabble in, spend hours to tweak your sound, get it really dialed into exactly how you want it. So that's another bonus over the original Yeti. Now additionally you do have the RGB control for all the different options you see on the front and back. I think that adds a certain element of an unnecessary feature for some, and you are paying for that of course over the original one. For example, if you use this on a live stream in the cardioid pattern, the pickup selection, if it's not on camera, you're never going to see the back of it, and it may sit in that position for years on end and never actually be changed. So that's something you're going to be paying for that's not needed. Additionally, with the capsules you do have 4 on this. So if you're buying this microphone purely for one pattern, then you do have 3 extra capsules that you're going to be paying for, again not being used. So what I would say for this microphone is, if you're going to be using it for a podcast where there's 2 people in the room, then that's obviously a good situation to warrant buying this upgrade, especially with the clipping and things like that. It's really handy to have on hand when you are recording a podcast, as you can quickly adjust if it's too loud. But for those of you that are just buying this for one pattern and you're not too worried about the fancy flashy stuff, then you can probably get away with the original Yeti, if not buying a microphone with a single pattern, over this one that's got 4 different pickups all in one microphone. So another question that may be asked is, I have the original Yeti, is this a viable solution to upgrade to? And I would personally say just stick with what you've got. I use the original Yeti on my channel for about 4 years, I think, constantly in my gaming content, and it suited me perfectly. I never had trouble with it, and it did everything I wanted. Obviously, unless you need the additional pickup that's in this microphone over the 3 in the original, then I'd say it's not really a necessary upgrade, and stick with what you've got. So thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. It was a little bit of a long one, but I wanted to include as much detail as I possibly could. If there are any more questions you do have that I've missed, leave them in the comments box below and I will get back to you. If you do want to get yourself one of these microphones, I will put a link in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and ding the bell so you don't miss an upload. A big thank you to Blue for sending this out for me to review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.